Hi, boys and girls. I'm here with our Read Aloud book, and today I'm going to be reading you Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is called Into the Attics. So think about what this might be about. Think about what an attic is. So an attic is typically above where you live in your house. Most people put storage in their attic or things that they need to store. Some people change their attic into like a room if it's finished where someone can live. But we're thinking about the attics at Craven Manor. The attics at Craven Manor were very different. Dark, except for the odd chink of light from between the roof tiles, they were crammed with old furniture, pictures and ornaments, chests, toys, and dozens of other objects Matt could only guess at in the darkness. The dust-laden air smelled of musty clothes, damp, and mothballs. "There's no electricity up here," whispered Sam, "but I've got lots of torches hidden away. Stay there while I collect a couple." As she shuffled away, he heard other noises, mice, he guessed, or even rats. He wasn't really scared, but all the same, he curled his toes. He didn't fancy being bitten in the dark. Then Sam clicked on 2 torches and came back to him. "Come on," she said, "let's have some fun." Each attic led to another and another and another, some quite small, others enormous. Matt lost count of how many he had passed through. His torchlight flashed on a dressmaker's dummy swathed in cobwebbed shawls. In the next attic, a battered rocking horse, minus its mane and tail, lay on its side. There were traveling trunks covered with faded labels, rolled up carpets, things that sent human-like shadows into the light of the torch. Matt had no idea where they were in relation to the rooms below. So think about Craven Manor as a huge mansion. Think about how large this attic could actually be. "We're over Great Aunt Dorothy's bedroom," Sam whispered. "Better tiptoe." "Who's Great Aunt Dorothy?" "She's another of them," said Sam. "Honestly, you don't want to meet her." They passed through another 3 attics. "We're coming to my favorite place," said Sam. As far as Matt could see, they had reached a blank wall with just a low chest of drawers against it, but Sam bent down and moved it easily out of the way. "It's empty. I threw all the stuff out." Behind the chest was a low opening. "You'll have to crawl," whispered Sam. Once through, she quietly pulled the chest back into place and hooked a piece of heavy tapestry curtaining across the open. "Now we can light the candles." There were a dozen or more of them shoved into candlesticks of every shape and size, and Matt shone his torch as Sam produced a box of matches and shuffled between them. As the candlelight increased, he saw they were in another large space, but this one glowed with color and gleamed with the silver and copper of the candlesticks. Sam had strewn the bare boards with rugs and old bedspreads in a rainbow of colors, crimson, emerald, purple, and gold. Silk and velvet curtains were pinned to the walls with drawing pins, and an inviting tumble of cushions filled the entire center of the floor. Carved and painted masks decorated the walls. A huge dried snake hung between 2 beams. Sam flung herself onto the cushions. "This is my secret nest," she said. "I've got my iPad and all my favorite books and games up here, and nobody knows about it." Matt's mouth fell open with astonishment. It was like Aladdin's cave in the Arabian Nights. All they needed was a genie with a magic lamp. God, she was lucky. "Well?" she asked. "What do you think?" She didn't deserve it, the way she behaved. He turned away. "You want to be careful with all these candles. You could set fire to the whole house." Sam's hard hand thumped him between the shoulders. "Matthew Bright," she hissed. "You sound just like Mr. Higgins. Why are you being so mean?" He could feel her eyes boring into him. "You're jealous, aren't you?" she said. "Of course I'm not jealous." "Well, maybe a bit," he admitted. "But it's you. You just don't deserve any of this. This house, horses, your parents, everything you want. You don't appreciate any of it. You're just bossy and bad-tempered and boastful and rude to everybody. And you're just a miserable little scaredy cat who doesn't know how to have fun and enjoy himself. Oh, we mustn't do this. We shouldn't say that. Honestly, I'm surprised you had the guts to run away from that home." He stared at her. Was that really how she saw him? How others saw him? "I'm not like that," he said. "At least I never used to be. There's just so many bad things that have happened lately." "What sort of things?" she asked after a silence. He told her about his mom dying, about his dad losing his job, about the home and the boys who bullied him and called him Matilda. "And now my dad wants to go back to the States and leave me here." "He's American?" "Yes, but he's lived in England for a long time. He met my mom here, and I was born here. Wouldn't you like to go with him? Yes, of course. Dad's from California, and it's a great place. We lived there for a while when I was very small, but my gran was alive then, and Mom missed her, so we came back to England. Now with Mom dead and his job gone, there's no reason to stay here. There's you, said Sam. But I'm not important to him anymore. I don't think he'll come back for me once he's gone. He'll forget all about me. She reached out a hand. No, he won't. I bet he really loves you. He won't forget. Matt's eyes stung, and he wished she would stop being sympathetic. It was easier when she was being her usual bad-tempered self. His stomach gave a loud gurgle, and he sighed. The lunch he had barely tasted seemed not just hours, but days past. Hey, I don't suppose you've got anything to eat up here. They sat together in the heap of cushions, Matt with the tin of biscuits Sam had found for him cradled in his knees. Dinner, she told him, wasn't usually served before 7. 7, he groaned. So Mr. Higgins was unlikely to come looking for them for at least 2 hours. Do you really think I'm rude and bossy and all those other things you said? She asked through a mouthful of biscuit. He thought, yeah, he decided. But she had been nice to him about his dad. Maybe he should say something nice in return. I guess you're all right, really. Maybe I was just being jealous, like you said. No, she said, I have been rude and bad-tempered, and I'm sorry. It's because I've got problems, too. He saw that her face had crumpled. What sort of problems? He waited a long time for her to reply. Then her voice so choked that he wasn't sure he was hearing her correctly. She said, those people downstairs, they're not my real mother and father. Of course they're not. Of course they are. I've seen their photos. They're not. They look like them, but they're not them, she cried. They're imposters. He sighed. She was off again. He looked down at his feet, wishing he was somewhere else. Honestly, she was crazy. She really was. He kept his eyes on his feet. He was still wearing the borrowed riding boots. They were beginning to hurt. Perhaps Sam had a pair of sneakers he could wear. He was really crying now, making sniffled sounds. He wished she would shut up. All the time, he couldn't help feeling sorry for her. Crazy or not, she believed what she said, and there was no doubt about that. Her misery filled the attic like a wet cloud. He didn't know what to say. He said nothing. After a while, the noises stopped, and he risked a cautious glance. It was a relief to see Sam scrubbing the tears away with the palm of her hand. He waited until she had given her reddened nose a long blow. Look, he said awkwardly, you should really stop all this business. You only get yourself all upset. Why don't you see a doctor or something? I'm sure someone could help. You don't believe me. No one does. Even the police don't believe me. The police? Matt choked on his biscuit. You mean you actually went to the police and told them what you just told me? That's exactly what I did. And what happened? I bet they laughed at you. They did not. They drove me back here in a patrol car and asked to see my parents, she scowled. And maybe I'd have been able to get them on my side. There was a nice woman sergeant who looked as if she would at least listen to me, if that toad hadn't made me look like such an idiot. By the time they left, they were convinced I was practically a nutcase, and that my dear so-called parents had hired Mr. Higgins especially to see that I didn't do myself or anyone else any harm. Mind you, if they had a chance to see her, it might be different. Her? Great Aunt Dorothy. She's supposed to be my long-lost great aunt, all the way from Brazil, where she's lived for 40 years, ever since she married dear Roberto. Sam swiped viciously at a spider dozing in its freshly spun web. Startled, it rolled itself into a ball, then thought better of it and scuttled for safety. Great Aunt my foot! If you think Mr. Higgins is weird, wait till you see Great Aunt Dorothy. No one could believe she was part of a normal family. What did they do after the police went away? He asked. Were they angry? Her mouth tightened. Yes. Did they punish you? Lock you up? Sam's mouth tightened still further. When at last she spoke, it was as if the words were stuck in her throat like marbles. If you must know, that's when Flemo disappeared. Matt was shocked. You mean they? Mr. Higgins? He stole another glance at the small, tight face that reminded him, in its tawny framed narrowness, of a young fox. Any moment, he thought, she would burst into tears again. But was any of this true, or was it another of Sam's strange fancies? Something told him that bit about the rabbit was true, but the rest, surely that was just Sam being weird. I'm sorry about your rabbit, he said at last. Sam gave him a long look. She shook her head. You still don't believe me. I don't know. It all just seems so, it doesn't make sense. Do you think they're aliens or something? Maybe they've mutated. Or maybe they were left behind by the Doctor Who crew. Hey, watch it, he yelled as she flew at him. So, he said after a while, if they're imposters, what do you think they're up to? Why are they here? I don't know. Do I? She said crossly. They didn't speak again until what seemed like hours later when Sam peered at her watch. It's 6:30, she said. We'd better go back. That is the end of chapter 8. I'd like you to comment what your thoughts are. Do you think Sam is telling the truth about her parents? Or do you think that it's something that she's making up? I'd love to hear your thoughts.